rhubarb is one of the first fruits of spring. It's one of the first things you can harvest from your garden. And today we've seen where rhubarb comes from. We've visited the restaurant of one of Iowa's most innovative chefs. And now Matt Steigerwald is here with me in the studio, and he is going to help us take rhubarb far beyond pie, right, Matt?
Hopefully. So rhubarb and strawberry pie, classic Midwest thing, been around forever. I think the flavors are great together, but what we're going to do here is a little different. It's a dessert called a fool, F-O-O-L. It originates from the French word to crush, because you would take the overripe fruit and you would fold it into whipped cream, leaving it sort of chunky or smooth, and then you could layer it with cakes in a trifle or just eat it as is.
All right, so it's kind of like an ice cream.
It is. What we like to do at the restaurant is make a fool with whatever vegetable or fruit we have a lot of, and right now we have a lot of rhubarb. So what we do is we crush the rhubarb with the sugar, and we put it in the blender, and then I like to put a little gelatin in it because I think it holds shape better. And then we mold it into different shapes, whatever you'd like. I think at home it's nice if you do a large one and then slice it, like an ice cream cake almost.
A bread pan.
Yep, exactly. And then it goes in the freezer, and then when it's hard, pop it out, slice it, and it's a great sort of after the grill dessert, you know, outside.
Wonderful.
We did make a little chopped strawberry and raw rhubarb sort of salad, if you will, for the top.
Okay.
And then
is there sugar in there as well?
There's a little bit of sugar in this with the raw rhubarb, chopped rhubarb, and the raw local strawberries that are really sweet.
And you just ladle that over the top?
Sure.
So this is a dessert, obviously. It looks wonderful. And I think a lot of us think about rhubarb as being something that you use in desserts. You mentioned strawberry rhubarb pie.
Right.
You can make rhubarb pie,
Yes.
rhubarb custard, all kinds of things like that. But you have been experimenting with rhubarb in more savory dishes.
Right, we have. What we're going to do is caponata, so almost like an Italian salsa, I think is a good way to think of it. Usually it's eggplant, roasted or fried, and then tossed with other things you have in your garden, and a dressing. It's kind of like a sweet and sour thing. You want a little sugar, but you want a little bite from vinegar and some herb at the end.
Okay, now I don't think of rhubarb as being a replacement for eggplant.
No, exactly. and this is what I was going to mention, is I feel like rhubarb is so tart sometimes that you don't think of using it. But there are things that we cook with that are tart every day. We use lemon zest, lime zest, things like that are very tart, but they have a really important role in any dish to balance out flavors.
Okay.
And if you use it that way, I think it's just fantastic.
All right, how do we put it together?
So you're going to warm a pot a little bit with a nice amount of olive oil. You're not really just trying to put enough olive oil in there to cook with. You're trying to put enough olive oil in there that the vegetables are going to flavor that oil, and that'll be kind of the base for the salsa, for the caponata. Okay. We're going to mix in all our veggies.
And this in here, you have garlic, you have rhubarb.
Garlic, rhubarb. You will traditionally do pine nuts and raisins.
All right.
Celery, some crunchy things.
All right, I see, tiny little somethings. What are those?
Right, so whole seeds. We did whole anise seed, like I was talking about before. We do whole chili flakes. You could use, the fresh ones out of your garden if you wanted to, if it were that time of year. And I always like coriander seeds, because they have a lemony, they give a lemony bite to a dish, and they add a little bit of sweetness to the rhubarb as well.
All right. And what kind of change in your veggies and in other ingredients are we looking for here? How long do we need to cook it?
3 to 5 minutes. I mean, you don't want to fry it. You just want to soften it. You want to get a little sweetness out of everything. You want to take the rawness off, basically.
Okay.
I mean, you're basically making a salad, but a good way to meld the ingredients is to cook it a little bit. And, the olive oil gets a little of that garlic in it, too. And that's going to go like that. And then we're going to do a little sugar, like I mentioned before, which will help balance the tartness of the rhubarb. And then a little vinegar. I like a white wine vinegar or champagne vinegar. This is champagne. And you're just going to let that come up a little bit on the boil. We'll turn the heat up just a tad for that. And then when it's done, well, we're going to add mint, a little herb. I like to add any herb you have in your garden. We'll use parsley, oregano. Basil will be great with it too. And then we'll do a little salt. And you can use it warm right from the pan if you like, or you can lay it out to cool and use it like you would a salsa on steak or on fish. We'll be running today some fish today.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's fine, just like that. Then we're going to mix in our herb, mint, a little bit of salt, and we'll call it done.
All right.
It's really good with fish because I feel like the bright flavors of the rhubarb and the lemon, and the mint really are, they work well with something meaty. So let's get the plate and we'll put that right on there. We have another spoon. This is good. I can just take a couple off. We'll just do 2. And then we'll just take a little bit of the caponata, finish.
Well, and it looks like something
nice
you could
finish.
make quite a bit of, keep it in the fridge.
Sure.
Use it in a lot of different ways.
Sure. I think it's really important you add a little bit of brightness before you use it. So, it's great to keep in the fridge, but I think you should always maybe brighten up with a little salt or herb before usage.
A rhubarb margarita.
Rhubarb margarita. We like to drink at the restaurant, and so that's always good. What I did was I took rhubarb and cooked it down with water and sugar. That's it. And I put it through the blender. And we're doing that in there with the ice. I do a little lime in there too. And we'll do the lime
So you don't go for crushed ice?
I don't like that. I would rather just get it cold and then get a little salt in the rim and pour it that way. And I've got my tequila back here. And you could add as much as you want. I like to add as much as I want. Maybe a little like that.
Now, before this program, before you started thinking about rhubarb dishes to bring on the air,
Right.
had you been using rhubarb in these ways?
I've never liked rhubarb very much, to be honest, but I think this has been really good because I've learned to like it in a way that I didn't expect to like it. I was exposed to rhubarb pies, exposed to strawberry rhubarb pies. I'm not sure that I ever saw anything else in the past 10 years living in Iowa. And so I think using it raw, using it in savory dishes, just fantastic.
So you weren't someone who picked it out of the garden and ate it raw as a kid?
We didn't have it. I'm not from here, and back east, I don't know. I mean, my mom would make something once in a while if a neighbor brought some. But it wasn't something we had a lot of.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Well, it sounds like you've certainly had your eyes opened to
Yeah,
some
definitely.
possibilities.
Oh, it's
with
wonderful
it.
now. I'm gonna be drinking these all summer.
And rhubarb garnish.
Rhubarb garnish, a little mint, a little lime in the bottom is nice.
One of the beautiful things about rhubarb is it comes in so many different sizes.
Yeah, it really.
All right, well, let's try these.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. That's fantastic.
Pass the taste test?
Absolutely.
Nice.
That's terrific. And what a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming
Thanks very
in.
much. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Let's have more of that.
Let's do.